Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. And this is our third episode of A Leader's Trek. And to start with, let me tell you that it's a fact, right, that growing old is mandatory. And once a person is born, there is childhood, there is adolescence, there is adulthood, and last, the happy aging. And as we all know, aging is an inevitable process. We cannot stop aging. Though there are beauty industries saying that, age can be irreversible and it can be something that you can look younger than your age. But aging is something that we really can't stop. It has to continue, right? And there are a lot of efforts made in nowadays on efforts on how to ensure that there is better elder care, there is better insurance plans for your health when you are aging, or just about just the tourism or holiday packages that are super senior citizen friendly, right? Like there are positive aging, there's also another side of the coin, and it takes a lot of toll on your body and mind while you're aging, right? So there's sickness, there is a lot of problems like dementia, Alzheimer's, and most important of all, loneliness and depression while you age. Just the fact that you cannot financially support your family, or you are not independent, makes you more depressed and loneliness. And it is a difficult phase of life. We all know that. But this is something that we all need to cope up with, and we need to build a successful aging. And I'm super glad here because today I'm going to introduce a guest speaker for our Leaders Trek who is making every effort to ensure that we have successful aging and this world becomes an elder friendly world. So I'm happy to introduce Mr. Sailesh Mishra, and this episode is super special for me for two reasons. I think first, because this is a topic which is very close to me. And second, this is a very less spoken conversation on, or less spoken topic on. So I'm glad that I have this opportunity to present the work that Sir is doing and the effort that he's making to make an elder friendly world. Welcome, sir, and thank you so much for accepting our request and joining us on a Leaders Trek.
Thank you so much. Namaste to everybody and giving me this opportunity. I'm very happy to see you back after a long, long time after your field work with Silver Innings.
Yes, sir, definitely. Yeah. I think the experiences from Silver Innings is what makes me so much connected to this conversation on elder care, as well as shaping up a world which is elder friendly. Sir, as this is something that is very less spoken about, I really want you to start with, what is your work at Silver Innings, and what are some of the vision and the efforts that you're creating at Silver Innings, and how has your leadership journey been till now? Where did you begin, and then how did you think about this, and how did you all frame this whole vision of elder friendly world? So please share with us about your whole journey with this Silver Innings, before Silver Innings, and your leadership journey, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. Regila, I was like you, a young person, born in the family and was not very aware of social thing happening. I was just like a small child, then become a youth and enjoying my life, careless and fearless, and whatever came to me, I just was very happy. But I was born very important to know about Silver Inning, and my background is to know my childhood because I come from a small village near Mumbai, and that village thing is in me. And I come with the big fat Indian family with silver spoon. Uh, and we had a very big family. Everybody was staying together. My grandparents, my uncles and aunties and brothers and sisters, around 100 people. It was a small town. But in the small town, what happened was everybody was touched by each other. We knew everybody, and if there is a death and marriage or birth in the family, any problem, we all used to come together, all the village. So that was something, connected me to the people, and be grounded. What happened in my childhood was my mother used to always teach me that forget yourself for others, and others will never forget you. So that she meant was everybody does work or does things for themselves and the family. Do something for others, because this is an opportunity you have got, and don't be in the family business. Build your own career. Be independent. Don't depend on anybody. Don't have expectation from this family, me and your father. So this was my childhood lesson, and I was born a rebel. I still remember when I was a child and I was in one school. I don't want to name the school. We It was very partiality was going on. Uh, we were average student. I was a backbencher, and we were never got promoted. We never were asked questions. We were punished every time, and so I feel a little upset about that. And I was in class seventh. I went to the principal office and took my living certificate and took admission in other school. It was just in class seven. So rebel was born there. So since then, I wanted to do something different, something unique and innovative, which can have impact on others and myself also. After this journey, I came to Mumbai and I got admission in Wilson College, and that turned my life because I came from small village to big mega city of Mumbai. Things were not so easy. I did not understand English language. I went to the English school, but I could not speak. There was fear, there was insecurity. I had I had no confidence. In fact, actually, I had to dress up like a village guy. Slowly, that city taught me something, and that is one thing in me. I keep on changing. I keep on adapting. I am flexible. I learn, and I want to grow. So in the college also, what I did was I became the kind of student leader. I was very active in student things happening in the college, fighting for the students' right, fighting for the teachers' right also. And when I completed my college graduation, my life turned because I had to do early marriage, and that was something which I took admission in MA in economics at that time after completing my graduation, but I could not complete that. I had to take early marriage, and because of taking early marriage, I had to take any kind of job that came to me, and I started with the sales career, which I did not like actually, because in sales many times you have to tell lies, you have to keep your boss happy, your sales force happy, everybody. There's a 10% rise in your graph every time. Very very pressure in the job. 17 years I did that job, and I was not like, this is not for me, because my mother thing was tickling me that I have to do something for others. So I started doing something with my city people where I was staying in Mumbai. I was helping people with ration card, if there were telephone problem, if there was anything in the gasoline problem, if there was something in police station, I used to rush to help people. So I started in small kind of social work. It was not concrete. So one day I decided to apply for volunteer job work, and I went to Dignity Foundation for doing a volunteer work, and they offered me a job of marketing manager of the ID card center, the ID card which is given to senior citizens. And then my life changed. I was in very early 40s. I realized after 17 years that here is something which I wanted to do, a social work, a work for the nation, a work for somebody who require uh, human being touch. They have lost families, or the children are busy. These are old people, 70, 80, 90 years. They want somebody to hear them. They want somebody to talk to them. And I came to know about dementia Alzheimer's. And like anybody else, I was not aware about old people. Though I had a grandparents, but I was not, I never thought about them. So here the change happened. After working in Dignity, because I was marketing person, I realized the country needs the sector, the aging sector needed my expertise. So I started Silver Innings in 2008 and used my PR and marketing skill to talk about aging, not about silver innings. If you know, I never spoke about
Yes,
silver innings. It
yes.
was always aging. And here we use social media, technology, Facebook, Orkut. website, blog, then Twitter, Instagram to talk about it. And now in 2020, I'm really happy because earlier there were only three, four organizations. Now there are
Yes.
so many people doing wonderful work and talking about it. They are not shame of talking about their parents. And seniors also are not scared about talking about their rights. So some changes has happened. Still long way to go. India is young country. We are growing old slowly,
Absolutely, yes.
but still a lot of things to be done. The whole idea was to make a world which is elder friendly and
Right.
involve youth. Involve youth. That is what very because we always talk about seniors, but we never included youth. So what Silver
Yes.
Inning did was involve young people, college students. Now we work with Jilla at the school, small kids 90
Oh,
kids. Yeah, and these are underprivileged children, and we are talking to them in their language. We sing, we dance, we do things they want, and then slowly talk about grandparents. So
amazing. Yes.
here, yeah, here we made changes, and now we are happy that we are something. United Nation has, mentioned us in our work. Government of India slowly has recognized us. This year, they have made us as part of the working group to make national action plan. We are doing very wonderful work in dementia, Alzheimer's. So, whole idea is to work elder-friendly world where aging become rewarding and positive experience, not a treat or not a burden.
Exactly, exactly, sir. And I think I really love the way you said that forget yourself for others, and others will never forget you. So
Yes,
this is something that I'm really going to take back and reflect on it. As well
yes.
as I have seen you even when, like you said, that I interned with Silver Innings, and I worked with you personally on how do we ensure that this vision becomes a reality. And I've just loved working with you. And somewhere I need to admit that I admired you as a leader, just because you were not someone who was very strict or who used to say that, okay, where are your reports, where are your documents, but at the same time you were a leader who used to dance with us, who used to sing along with us, who used to play games with us. And also I've seen this with other employees of Silver Innings also. So I really wanted to share here about your leadership style. So if you could just share a brief about, what did you believe in, and when you became a leader, or when you were evolving as a leader, what were some things that you kept in mind, and how have you, drafted or created your style of leadership there in Silver Innings, sir?
So, as I don't have any academic background, I'm not an MBA graduate. I've not done a master also. Of course, I wanted to do that, but I don't come from the school of thought or where I have a copyright book where I follow instruction what is written in management. So what I did was simply very simple. Just followed my heart. That is the
Okay.
trick of the leadership. I don't know whether you call leadership, but be grounded, be humble and kind, be good listener, adapt to change, be flexible, and be in the front. Don't get
Right.
stopped. So what I did, I practiced. When I was child or when I was growing, when I was in silver inning, I could be happy to do the brooming, sticking the posters, having the banners attached, going myself and doing things. So I don't call them employee. I call them my colleagues. They follow me
Colleagues.
because
Yes.
to respect all of them and to take thought or listen to a person who's a down bottom. The management trick in leadership, what I learned is bottom to top, not from top to bottom. So the lowest person, the person who is doing my housekeeping, Alka, I used to ask her, Kasai, how is things happening? What do you want to improve here? So it's not about my senior manager or other trustees I could ask, but this is the person, my seniors, my vegetable vendors, my chai wala, my auto rickshaw wala, my bus driver. So I like to work with human beings. So be in the front, what I did, I never is to sat beside or from the back just to give order. Take risk. I took risk. I took responsibility, and I gave authority to my colleagues. Not only respond, I gave them some tasks, but gave them authority. Don't come back to me and ask anything. It's your baby. you make it grow. So when you give independence, when you give allow them to perform and don't interfere with them, I think they outperform you. And I am the
Right.
person who believes I will be here for 10, 15, 20 years. But aging, silver lining, you, the person should grow. And then you, as a leader, make other thousands leaders to grow. We want people who come in the front and speak about themselves. Don't just have that kind of what do you say talking in the cribbling
Yeah.
and not able to do something, and then you are depressed. You're not happy. If you want to happy,
Agreed.
love what love what you do and follow your dreams.
Exactly. I think I have seen you doing all this, going and asking the cook about how she is feeling, how she is today, and how her family is. So I think you also role model a lot of things that you preach and you talk about. So that is something that makes people take that ownership towards the work that they do and the work that we all together are trying to do. So I think that is the beautiful style of your leadership that I would say. And I still remember, like, once we had a meeting about, I suppose it was an event. If I'm not wrong, Udan is the event name.
Umang,
Utsav. No, I forgot the
umang.
name.
Um,
Umang was the name of the event. Yes. So, and we were planning for that event, that who will do and what we will do. And we were just at the planning stage at that point of time. And I still remember how quiet you were, and you were letting others to share their ideas. And you were asking, okay, you tell me what to do. Okay, if not this last year we did this year what you want to do. So taking insights from each one of them, and then trying to collaboratively decide on what we are going to do or how are we going to do. I really love the way it was done. Is there something that you consciously followed while doing this? How do you take your decisions, and how do you promote that collaborativeness or the collaborative culture inside the organization? Is there something that you follow consciously, or you make an effort towards it, or is it something that comes out of it naturally, like you were saying about being a role model?
Yeah, as I said earlier, I have not read management books. In college, I studied a lot, but I have left. I am a restless person, so I just follow what I feel is good. I follow
Okay.
what my heart follows. I don't think from brain. I don't plan something. I see this is something I need to do. Example, I'm working, and as I see somebody falling down, I'll leave my work and try to help the person. So my thing is I follow what I do, and I love. That's why I left my marketing job and joined the social sector, because I wanted to do something which I love. And when you love, when you love, you rise above everything. And then, and I also believe that we are not Robin Hood. We are not living in the jungle. We are part of the society. We are part of this community, and everybody has equal role to play. And when you are in partnership, where you're leading an organization, and when it's a family, whatever group you are, every member of the family, every member of the team are important. So that is what I learned. So make effort to have everybody together, because team, that is example, India wins the cricket match. It's not the Kapil Dev or Kohli that wins. It's the team that India wins. So here
Yeah.
organization should win, a family should win, and everybody has an important role. One foundation will shake, the whole building will collapse. So I love people. I'm fond of humanity, people who are good, and I want people who are sad to be also part of it, because let them give chance to come out of their depression. Let them. In fact, we hired a girl, a rescue child, a rescue girl with us, and my staff was against it. My colleagues were against it. Why you trying to hire somebody who had a difficult life, or who was depressed, who's a rescue girl? I said no, she needs a chance to come out of it. She needs to show the world that she is something. How can she go back to her home? Because she has to live her own life. So this is what I
Great.
believe, that everybody is important and give chance to everybody.
Great, great, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for sharing this. And I also know that all these qualities and all this leadership style that you execute in Silver Innings, that has retained a lot of people in the team and in the family that you're talking about. And I remember I finished my internship almost around 4 years back, 4 to 5 years back, and there are people who were working with me at that point and are still in Silver Inning. So how do you make this happen, and how do you, create that feeling of family in them, or just create that ownership in them that this is something that you are related to and you are passionate about? So because I remember that I still have that feeling that I am a person who's related to Silver Innings. I am someone who calls Silver Lining as my home. So how do you create that? That was very unintentional and not something that we felt that no, sir is drilling down with us this mindset. It happened very organically. So how did you do this?
So first of all, I don't want to hurt anybody. That's my inbuilt quality. My mother, I'm very emotional and sensitive person. I love people, as I said. I don't want to throw or fire somebody. That's the inbuilt quality. So I believe we are human beings. I make a lot of mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. So my thing is, so if I make mistake, I should improve. And one mistake, two mistake, three mistake, fourth mistake should not happen. So a chance to be given to everybody. So when we were talking about colleagues and retaining, in fact, every year now we are giving trophies to people who have completed 5 years, and I'm very happy. I'm very happy. Out of, like, you can say, 90% of my colleagues are 5 year old. They're
Okay.
working since more than 5 years. So they feel as a family because they are not just doing a job. I'll just give an example. In pandemic, this corona lockdown happened in March. It suddenly came, and we were always struggling, and the staff was struggling. Many people outside, they lost the job. What we did, we gave a financial incentive to everybody every month. We gave them dry ration every month. We hear them. We gave them freedom to singing and dancing on the free time. We gave them freedom to talk to their family, do WhatsApp call. We share the internet connection with them. So we try to make them comfortable as a family. And when we take somebody, we talk about attitude. I don't see your degrees, your what class you have coming from. Do you speak English language? No, you should be good human being. So that, and when good human beings are involved, they work together. Of course there might be some clashes, but we need to have temperament to handle the
Right.
classes. So if I'm a leader, if I'm giving bad words, I'm not using right tone, my staff will also learn, my colleague will also learn, like a child. If I'm in the environment, it will spoil me. So if you create a good environment, bad people will also become good. That's the whole
Right.
idea.
Amazing, amazing. I think it's just beautiful to hear how you repeat the word of, being a family and giving the feel of family to the colleagues, to the team members that you are with. And congratulations that there are team members who have completed 5 years and more than 5 years also. Thank you, sir. So I know that maybe we take a lot of effort as a leader to make sure that everything goes right and smooth, but there would be instances where you had to make the toughest choices, the toughest decisions in this journey. It would be with your colleague, it could be with the beneficiaries that you're working with, or it could be just, the space that you are in. So, could you share one incident or one toughest decision that you had to take in this leadership journey that you were in?
So when we started Evans Snehanjali Elder Care Home at 2013 at Vidar and Nalasupara for to create something different in India. So when we started, everything was happening good. But when we started second center, the second home in Rajodi, that was the toughest part, and everybody was not happy that I should go ahead and do that, do an investment, because still we did not had many people to fill in, many elders to fill in, the rooms were empty. But I had a vision to create an environment where there are trees, where there are birds around, where there's a lot of space around, a garden, a dementia park kind of thing. So that I think was a tough decision to convince my team, my family, and also in between there was a time to close down. So,
Okay.
and I had to struggle and I had to keep myself telling, no, no, I don't have to close down because I have started something to create. I don't want to destroy, demolish something, right? I have a dream, and dream has to be fulfilled, or dream has to be realized. So if I close down, so it's not my dream, not Silver Innings or that Rajodi Center's dream of many people. So
Right.
I can't do that. So still I need to give a chance. So there were a lot of tough decisions. In fact, like one incident I remember, when one of the family came in the car with a bag full of money, and the lady was telling us, "Take my husband inside." I said, "No, I will send you back. We are not doing business here. We're not trading people. You go back. We will follow the process." I felt bad. I was sending her because she was troubled by her husband, and he had dementia. We followed a procedure. After one of the boss told me, if there is a problem in life, there are two ways to handle it. Either you keep shut up and keep quiet and lay down, or either you fight it out. So what I tried, her style was, shut down, shut yourself for 2 days, and things will automatically get solved.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think it's just wonderful to see that how you've been persistent in what you were doing. And A1 Snehanjali, I must say that it's a beautiful space. It's a beautiful house, and more like a family to everyone who visits there even once. So, any viewers or audience who are watching this, make sure you pay at least one visit to A1 Snehanjali. It's a beautiful place, you will see. And there are beautiful people inside to make sure that your day is the best memorable day there. So that is something that I would like to end this conversation here, sir. My last question, and this is out of a lot of curiosity, that have you known, or do you feel that you have influenced anyone, any person or any individual you feel that I have influenced this person with my leadership quality or with my leadership style, and they are right now creating this impact. So could you share about one person like this?
So I can't take one person name, but many people
Definitely yes.
many people have. In fact, when I started in this journey, many people write to me and tell me that I've completed my PhD because of you. I have learned something. I've started something. I started organization. People come. I'll tell you, people come anywhere in the world, come with any cause, not only seniors. Somebody was working with deaf and dumb children. Somebody was education. Somebody wanted to make work with women. So they all came, and I just gave a free advice. Whatever I wanted to do, I made them sit down and brainstorm with them. But three people I want to mention here. Three people. One is my colleague Rama Subramaniam, who helped me to start Silver Innings Helpline, and she got impressed and influenced by the work we were doing, the way we were working, and she helped me created this. And now later she started Pride Age. Now she's out of India, but still making a lot of difference. Then second was Rahin Jumani, one of my colleague who's a psychologist, and we met at Unlimited India, and she also follows me, and very humbly she also works like me, grounded, soft spoken, and now she has Open Your Arms, working with the rescue child. And third is Sushma Malhotra. Again, I met her 2 years ago, and we both started a restaurant in lockdown, and she
Okay.
has been impressed by me, influenced by me, and now she's independent. She is independent. These all are independent people. Of course, they have a family, but they are happy. They are smiling. So I want to create a world of happy people.
Amazing, amazing. And you could add me also in the list now.
Okay. Yes, of course. Thank you.
Because I have personally been inspired with the way you led Silver Innings, the work at Silver Innings, and I admired to work with you as well as I admired to be a leader like you. So definitely, I definitely feel proud that I am hosting this conversation with you and I'm able to tell this. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
yes. So quickly we'll go on to our next round, and this is
Okay.
the rapid fire round that we have.
Oh my God.
And you need to be
I'm
very
scared.
rapid in your answers. Yes.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
have framed very difficult questions for you because I know you very well. So I'm going to frame very difficult questions for you.
Okay.
Okay. So the first question, it's tricky, but yeah, I hope you understand. One is one thing or one truth that you believe in, that you completely believe in, and most people disagree with you on this.
Mm, my
It's
honesty,
rapid.
my honesty and my proactiveness.
Your honesty and proactiveness. Okay, you believe in that, and most people disagree with you on this. Okay, great. And who is your mentor? Like, who do you reach out to, or someone who you feel that can support you at difficult times?
There are many people, but I will name one person is my mother who has framed me, who has molded me, who has made me what I am. She is no more now. Last year she passed away.
Okay,
And one is Susan Somers from International Network for Prevention of Elder Abuse. Then there's Dr.
okay,
Pinto, Sivaraju, Bill Thomas, Jacob Roy. There are, but my mother and Susan Somers are the two important people in my life. I reach out to Susan Somers in USA every time when I'm in trouble. I write to her, and she, like a
um,
mother, grandmother, she comes to me and tells me, "Oh, I wish you are doing this, do this," and she corrects me. If I'm
okay.
wrong, she corrects me, and I am happy she corrects me.
That's great. That's great, sir. Yeah. So I can I go to the next question?
Yes.
Yes, a rule that you broke for one of your colleague, I would say, or your family member.
Hmm, very tricky. As I said, one rule I broke because my colleagues wanted to fire one this rescue girl. I said no, you can't do that. So because we
Okay,
have a policy not to fire it, if somebody is not working or it's a Ronbo organization rule. So I broke that rule. I said no, this person will be here and this is in my custody. I will take care how she performs well.
amazing, amazing. Yes. And what are you learning? Something new that you're learning right now.
Uh, I'm learning to be young.
Yeah, that you are always.
Yes. I'm learning to be. I learn from children and young people, and all. Everybody teaches me something. So I'm a learner. I'm a student of life. So I'm happy to learn everything every day.
Student of life. Yeah, what a phrase. Yes. Okay. And one activity that you engage yourself in to just keep yourself proactive or, operating at your optimum level that you are. One
Bollywood songs.
activity. Yes, you dance. I know that. Yeah.
So every day morning I start my day, listen to 5 minutes of bhajan, but I listen to latest song. It is मैं तेनू समझावा तू मुझे छोड़ ना जा, like all kind of Himesh Reshammiya, this kind, all kind, Arman Malik, everybody, Neha Kakkar. If I don't hear
Oh, yeah.
Bollywood
Neha
music,
Kakkar is my
so
favorite too. Yes.
so because Bollywood music gives me energy, I love new songs. I don't love old songs, but I love new songs.
That's great. That's great. Yes, sir. So thank you so much for being so sportive and for being so active in this conversation. And I loved having this meet again after so long. I'm sure the audience would have also enjoyed this conversation. Do we have any questions from the audience? We'll just take 1 second to address
Okay.
that. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so there's one question that
Uh,
how do you manage your personal and professional life together? Is there something that
oh,
you balance it out, or is there something that is you have a clear deadline for personal,
oh,
professional?
very nice question. Very tricky also. Yes, we all have personal life, we have our professional life, but more till morning, say 9 and after 9 o'clock in the night. I am a family person. So from morning 9 to evening 9, I'm a professional person. So I have not set any rules to balance it, but I have a good family. I have a good friends who support me what I do. Whether I'm working earlier, I used to work 18, 20 hours. Now I've stopped that working because I work 5 days a week now. But still, I spend time with my family, friends, and let me tell you, this is something new. I'm going to tell you. Last 5, 6 years, I'm enjoying my life. I'm taking breaks because this
Okay.
is what I've learned in my leadership learning that you need to spend time on yourself. If you don't spend time on yourself, you'll break. You will, there'll be burnout. If you want to do good more, God has given you more time, so spend time on yourself. I'm enjoying my coffee. I'm enjoying my dosas. I like movies. I go out. So I keep everything balanced, but it's difficult because everybody is demanding. But I'm happy what I do.
Amazing. I think when you enjoy your work, the automatic balance comes in your life as well as in your professional work. I think there's no question of professional and personal balance when you enjoy your work. So that's something that I would like to end with, sir. And thank you once again for joining in this call. We would like to end this conversation with one advice that you would like to give to our aspiring leaders or viewers who are watching this. As a leader, one advice that you would like to give aspiring leaders.
So, yeah, thank you first of all very much for giving this opportunity and meeting you in person after so many years. I know many students from Nirma Niketan College and PISS and many other institutes who have come to our life, and I've learned from all of you. So this is my way of growing. So one thing, one advice, one quote I know, and is on my Facebook also. I've been following this since Unlimited India 2008. It is like this: if your action inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, become more, then you are a leader.
Amazing, amazing. That's so beautiful and so wonderful to hear this. Thank you so much, sir. I think there would be a lot of times when we would come to you. Not just me who's got inspired by this conversation, but a lot of others who would approach you and say that, you inspired me at this moment. And thank you for all that you do. And we wish you all the best for making your vision a reality on an elder friendly world. So thank you so much.
One thing I can say before ending.
Yes, sir.
Road to success is road to failure. Life will test you each day. Don't give up. Don't fall, but rise in love what you do. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you, sir.